Okay, so welcome back to the second devlog. Now, this week I've been focusing on making sure I'm fixing up the character creation scene, and I've gotten that looking pretty good. But I've also run into some bugs with making the merchant system. So here's pretty much what I've got, basically since we sort of started, and I'll turn that down a little bit. But basically, I've still got this general process, but if you'd seen my sort of devlog one, I basically changed up what I've got in the character scene. So what I've done in the character scene is, well, first of all, I've actually made it somewhat usable. But what I've also done is I've made it so that you can randomize items, but also randomize traits and such as well. So obviously, you have the sort of the title screen. It then gives you a bit of an intro, which I mean, I'm quite happy with this intro so far. And this sort of game isn't supposed to be anything crazy. Actually, I'll just mute that for now. So what we have, create a character or something. Um, I've actually got icons for each of these, and obviously, strength, agility, stamina, so on and so forth. But you can also roll for random start, right? So this is something I quite liked within the Heads Will Roll Reforged game. The idea that you can just effectively roll random. Now, what I'll probably do with this is I'll probably make it so that you can only roll random a certain amount of times, perhaps 3 times, and then maybe you can pick from the 3 possibilities you had, which one you want to start with, as opposed to just continually clicking it. But I basically got it that, you're able to sort of, click all these things, right? Obviously, I need to make the iron sword sort of icon, but, you've got sort of, leggings and obviously a certain number of defense and such, bandage, axe. And you can see obviously with the weapons, right, we've got damage, but we've also got reach. That was something I quite liked with the sort of heads will roll game. The whole idea of reach, where if your weapon's longer, you're going to be more likely to hit your enemy, but a bit more difficult to be hit. But obviously, those longer weapons are going to deal less damage. But that was sort of cool things, which I quite liked. Just sort of looking at. The other thing as well, which you'll notice, which I mean, I don't know how well you can see, and obviously you can see that the red there is probably improving or needs to be improved. I've also got traits as well. So basically, when you roll random, there will be a certain number of traits. So a trait, you'll basically have 3 to start with. I may have it where as you play, maybe after you've completed certain events or whatever, that you're able to pick up more traits or something. But at the moment, I basically have each trait which gives a benefit but also a negative. So you probably can't read it, which obviously needs improving. But I've got fast reflexes, so plus 10% dodge chance, but minus 10% health. Right, quick feet plus 15% agility, but minus 5% damage dealt. And then pain tolerance, so take 30% less damage below 40% HP, but healing effects are reduced. Right, so it's just sort of things like that. At the moment, I think I've got about like 5 or 6 rotated. Obviously, I think I'll probably look to add maybe like something like 30 or something, so really sort of vary things up, because what I quite liked about, well, I think what I want to do more so is I want every sort of run experience to always feel fresh and sort of new. And obviously, I would very much look to expand effectively, the sort of things that can pop up here. But generally speaking, I'm just sort of starting off with what we have here as well. But yeah, I think the traits is something that will be quite interesting because it will give interesting stuff. Something which I do plan to also look at is almost things like permanent injuries. So perhaps I don't know, perhaps you take damage in battle, and you almost lose an eye. And because you lose an eye, the negatives to that is perhaps decrease sort of dodge chance or ability to hit, but perhaps because you've, I don't know, got a bit of like a Scarface sort of thing, maybe that's something which boosts other stats or interactions with other people. Maybe items cost less, like that sort of thing, but it stays there, right? Because I know with Heads Will Roll, if you have an injury, you can just spend a few bits of gold and that's that, which is why I'm thinking, well, permanent injuries might make it a bit more interesting as well. So I'm not sure how I do that, but this is pretty much what we have at the moment. Then from there, obviously, we can then click confirm, and we're at the town scene. Now, I haven't done anything necessarily with what I've got with this, but what I have done or at least what I'm working on at the moment, is the armor smith. So basically, what I've got at the moment is you've got different interactions. You've got talk, buy slash sell armor, and back to town. So talk at the moment opens up a little dialogue panel at the bottom, and he basically just says these three things. And then that's about that. I thought that was an interesting thing. Perhaps I might basically have it where that can, well, I was maybe thinking about things like quests and such or specific things, but at the moment that's pretty much that. Then we have the buy slash sort of sell armor stuff. Now, this obviously, as you can see, is something I'm still working on. I've been running into a few bugs with this, and I've been really sort of trying to figure out what's going on with this. But generally speaking, obviously, they're going to have certain items for sale, which obviously these aren't interactable. But the idea is, and what I'm still trying to focus on, is that I'll be able to click this. It will be able to pop up the panel that the inspect thing had, and you're obviously going to be able to buy. And then obviously in terms of the inventory, you'll be able to sell as well. But I'm still working on this. But generally speaking, I'm pretty confident I can do this because once I've got the core mechanics like actually built, buy, sell, and whatever, I can then just copy that stuff across. And then I've got back to town, which basically takes you back. Right. So that's pretty much where we're at the moment. What I will look to do is, for example, with the arena, I'll probably have buttons where you can, do like practice fights or maybe enter tournament or such, while obviously running the risk of actually dying or picking up injuries. And the same will be for the training ground in terms of being able to perhaps increase certain stats, woods in terms of being able to scavenge and maybe random events, and obviously the weaponsmith will be sort of similar and so on and so forth, right? So there is a good few things here to still work on, but I did just want to at least show you those at the moment. But yeah, so at the moment I'm pretty happy with the sort of the character creation scene. I think what I do need to focus on doing is making sure stuff saves across. But my sort of focus at the moment is less on having things all nicely polished and more on just can I have a game built from start to finish? And so I think my sort of progress or journey at the moment is going to be getting this armor smith scene or at least this sort of merchant mechanic sorted out. And once I can get that sorted out, I can obviously copy and paste that across to the weaponsmith, and then I can start working on the rest of the town stuff. Because really, once I've got the main sort of mechanics done, then I can just add a lot more content itself, and I should just be able to copy and paste different prefabs and stuff across. So this is pretty much the update. I didn't want to go too crazy into this. I just want to show you what I'm doing at the moment. I will be there won't be a devlog for another sort of couple weeks because I will be going on holiday. Well, this will probably come out on the week of the holiday. So I probably won't be doing another devlog until maybe late July. But I'm really looking forward to actually really working on this and sort of really making this into the game I want to do. Hopefully you found this useful. Obviously, if you ever have any suggestions or things that I could do, do let me know. I would love to sort of hear. But that said, I hope you found this sort of useful and this cool, and I'll chat soon.